In every age, people have asked the same questions. What is the good life? How should we treat one another? What does it mean to be free or virtuous or just? What does it mean to be human? Western moral philosophy for beginners and Selenius Media takes you on a guided journey through the minds that shaped the moral backbone of the West, from the earliest Greek thinkers to the modern age. Lived stories of struggle, ambition, conflict, revelation, all unfolding against the sweep of history. If you've ever wanted to understand philosophy clearly, calmly, and humanly, if you want to know not just what these thinkers argued, but why it mattered, follow Western moral philosophy for beginners today and explore 10 more podcasts at Selenius Media. Anaxagoras was a pre-Socratic philosopher from ancient Greece, often recognized for his innovative ideas in cosmology, metaphysics, and ethics. Active in the 5th century BCE, he brought forth profound questions about the nature of existence and the role of intellect in the universe. While he is best known for introducing the concept of Nous, or mind, as a cosmic ordering principle, his contributions to moral philosophy are equally compelling, opening avenues for reflection on ethical decision-making in our lives today. Anaxagoras is particularly notable for his assertion that everything is composed of infinitely divisible parts, a view grounded in the notion that there is a portion of everything in every substance. This idea leads us into a deeper terrain of moral implications, as it presents an understanding of unity and multiplicity within existence, an ethical consideration that encourages us to recognize the interconnectedness of all things. This paved the way for discussions on ethics that transcend individual actions, urging a more collective moral perspective. One significant aspect of Anaxagoras' philosophy is the introduction of Nous, or mind, as the organizing force of the cosmos. This principle suggests that intelligence, rather than mere chance or the whimsy of the gods, is responsible for the order and arrangement of the universe. With Nous instated as an overarching guide, Anaxagoras presents a framework that contrasts sharply with the chaotic and often arbitrary worldviews prevalent at the time. In moral philosophy, this idea raises intriguing questions about the role of reason in ethical decision-making. If Nous symbolizes clarity and order, in what ways can human reason, our own access to Nous, guide our ethical reasoning amid a world filled with uncertainties? Anaxagoras argues that because everything contains a part of everything else, there are moral implications to our interactions. For instance, how we treat others is akin to influencing the very fabric of existence itself. If virtues such as truth, justice, and respect are shared qualities among individuals, neglecting these virtues would mean disrupting the harmony that sustains both personal and communal relationships. This perspective beckons us to reflect on how our daily actions reverberate through the interconnected web of existence, making ethical conduct an essential aspect of social harmony. We can illustrate this idea with a contemporary example in the realm of social justice. Consider the discussions surrounding equality and inclusivity, areas where the recognition of shared humanity is paramount. If we acknowledge that every person embodies a slice of the whole human experience, our approach to issues like racial discrimination or economic inequality shifts. Rather than seeing individuals as separate entities, we begin to adopt a more collective perspective, promoting policies that uphold fairness and equity. Here, Anaxagoras' teachings resonate, urging us to engage in moral reasoning that recognizes our interconnectedness, thereby fostering a society built on mutual respect and understanding. Furthermore, Anaxagoras' recognition of Nous as a guiding force aligns with our ongoing exploration of personal ethics in the face of technological advancement. As technology continues to reshape our lives, consider the rapid rise of AI and its implications for privacy, security, and interpersonal relationships. We are faced with moral questions that require a similar exercise of reason. How do we maintain ethical standards that safeguard humanity amidst the complexities of new digital landscapes? Anaxagoras would likely encourage us to invoke our Nous, allowing reason to guide us in establishing ethical frameworks that prioritize human dignity and collective well-being, rather than succumbing to raw technological advancements without moral consideration. However, Anaxagoras' views have not been without criticisms. One of the primary criticisms revolves around the abstract nature of Nous. Some contemporaries and later thinkers questioned whether introducing such a concept as an organizing principle could adequately address the nuances of ethical behavior in a world fraught with emotional and irrational influences. Critics argued that relying on reason alone might gloss over the profound significance of emotions and socially constructed values, elements that play significant roles in shaping moral judgments. This skepticism about rationalism in ethics would later find resonance in the works of philosophers like David Hume, who emphasized the importance of feelings and passions in ethical considerations. Moreover, while Anaxagoras emphasized the infinitude of divisibility in all things, later philosophers like Plato extended this inquiry into the realm of forms or ideals. Plato's theory of forms emphasizes a transcendent, perfect reality that exists beyond the physical world, suggesting a departure from Anaxagoras' more material-focused philosophy. For Plato, moral truths are eternal and immutable, contrasting sharply with Anaxagoras' emphasis on the experiential and variable nature of existence. This contrast sets the stage for rich dialogues in the Western moral tradition, highlighting how ideas evolve and respond to the philosophical uncertainties of their time. As we shift our focus to more contemporary figures, we can look at how Anaxagoras' emphasis on interconnectedness reiterates in the works of modern philosophers, particularly those engaged with environmental ethics, such as Aldo Leopold or Arne Naess. These thinkers underscore the importance of recognizing our place within the larger ecological web and champion an ethical stance that advocates for a symbiotic relationship between humanity and the natural world. They echo Anaxagoras' insights, expanding the notion of interconnectedness into a framework that demands responsible stewardship of our shared environment. In reflecting on these ideas, it becomes apparent that Anaxagoras' philosophy encourages us to examine our place in a complex world. The challenge lies in how we as individuals can actualize the essence of Nous in our decision-making processes. The recognition that everything is intertwined implores us to consider the broader consequences of our actions, whether in our personal relationships, community engagements, or societal structures. Contemplating the moral imperative of interconnectedness leads us to adopt a thoughtful and compassionate approach to living. As you consider Anaxagoras' impact on moral philosophy, think about how these ideas manifest in your life. Are there moments where acknowledging our interconnectedness could alter your approach to ethical dilemmas? In a landscape often dominated by individualism, how can the understanding that our actions ripple through the tapestry of existence inform the way you engage with others? As we navigate the complexities of our world today, Anaxagoras invites us to embrace reason as a tool for ethical clarity, urging us to seek harmony in the shared fabric of life that we all inhabit. Should we heed his call, the result may be a more compassionate and unified approach to the moral challenges that lie ahead. Anaxagoras's exploration into the realm of moral philosophy invites us to further dissect the intertwined nature of our existence and the essence of rationality in navigation through ethical dilemmas. One of the key philosophical threads that emerges from Anaxagoras's thought is the relationship between the individual and the cosmos, a tie that reflects both in our personal ethics and in how we approach communal responsibilities. With the world increasingly recognizing complex systems, be it environmental, social, or political, the wisdom from Anaxagoras encourages us to enhance our moral thinking into a cohesive approach to life's intricate tapestry. At the heart of Anaxagoras's ideology is the concept of Nous, which not only serves as a metaphysical principle, but also as an ethical compass that guides individuals toward rational thought in understanding their role within the cosmos. With Nous embodying intelligence and order, it prompts us to engage in a form of ethical reasoning that transcends mere emotion or instinct. We may wonder, what does it truly mean to exercise this Nous within the broad spectrum of our ethical lives? To illustrate this thought, consider a situation such as the global climate crisis, which represents a clash between individual agency and collective consequences. Anaxagoras's assertion that everything is interconnected aligns beautifully with modern environmental ethics. When we take even small actions, such as deciding whether to use plastic bags or recycling, we are not merely making personal choices. We are contributing to a larger environmental narrative. Each choice reverberates through the ecological web. If we embody our Nous, we may recognize that our decisions are reflective of a collective responsibility to uphold the integrity of our planet. Moral behavior, then, evolves from a recognition of shared existence and collective well-being, echoing Anaxagoras's thoughts on the unity of all things. Moreover, as we delve deeper into moral implications, the relationship between Nous and human actions becomes increasingly vital. Anaxagoras argues that individuals are endowed with the capacity for rational thought, enabling us to assess and navigate complex moral landscapes. His philosophy begins to raise essential questions about the role of education and reason in ethical behavior. In an age where misinformation spreads rapidly due to technology, the challenge remains: how do we cultivate a society that prioritizes rational thought and ethical reasoning rooted in understanding interconnectedness? For practical reflections, let's bridge Anaxagoras's ideas with modern movements advocating for critical thinking and media literacy. In a political landscape often riddled with sensationalism and manipulation, a rational approach to ethical decision-making becomes imperative. Engaging with Anaxagorian principles urges us not only to seek truth, but also to understand the moral fabric of our statements and beliefs, ensuring they contribute positively to the broader discourse. This alignment of individual reasoning with societal well-being reflects Anaxagoras's assertion that our thoughts and words form the groundwork for responsible action. Furthermore, the implications of Nous extend into more personal ethical dilemmas as well. In our daily interactions, whether with friends, colleagues, or family, taking the time to engage our reason may produce more profound insights into how our actions affect those around us. The idea that we hold a part of one another in ourselves invites a level of compassion that aligns with Anaxagoras's advocacy for interconnected reality. When making decisions that impact others, the recognition of shared humanity can shape our responses and foster understanding. One pivotal area in which Anaxagoras's thoughts become particularly relevant is in the conception of moral education. If Nous serves as an enlightening force, how do we nurture this quality in ourselves and in others? The promotion of critical thinking skills and ethical reasoning from an early age can create a more reflective and compassionate society. Here we find echoes of later philosophers, such as Socrates, who similarly prioritized the importance of reasoned dialogue as a basis for moral development. Socrates' emphasis on questioning and seeking truth resonates with Anaxagoras' focus on Nous, underlining the necessity of intellectual engagement in cultivating virtuous living. In observing this interplay, one might ask how Anaxagoras' ideas hold up against contemporary ethical theories. A significant component of contemporary moral philosophy revolves around consequentialism, which evaluates the morality of actions based on their outcomes. Yet here, Anaxagoras' perspective, focusing on whether actions resonate with an understanding of interconnectedness, provides a complementary approach. If we adopt a consequentialist viewpoint, we risk a myopic view that privileges particular outcomes over the moral significance of relationships and interconnectedness as mandated by Nous. Let's not forget that acting ethically can be intertwined with the recognition of how our choices contribute to broader societal narratives, an awareness that can sometimes challenge purely outcome-based reasoning. Perhaps one area where Anaxagoras presents clear limitations is in his sparse engagement with the emotional aspects of human experience. The philosophical implications are significant. Human emotions play a crucial role in moral decision-making, often prompting actions that rational thought alone may not dictate. Critics argue that a solely rationalistic approach to ethics, such as Anaxagoras's, fails to account for the complexity of human experience. It is a point beautifully articulated by later thinkers such as David Hume, who emphasized the interplay of reason and emotion in ethical deliberation. Despite these criticisms, it is essential to consider how such dialogues fuel the evolution of ethical thought. Later philosophers, including Immanuel Kant, would expand Hume's points, debating the necessity of duty and rationality complementing emotion. Kant's categorization of duty as a guiding principle further illustrates how moral philosophy began to embrace a more nuanced understanding of action beyond mere rationality. In this light, Anaxagoras's integrity shines through not as a definitive moral stance, but as a prompt for further exploration into the complexities surrounding human experience. Yet the work of Anaxagoras does buoy philosophies that advocate for broader social engagement and moral responsibility, paving the way for thinkers like John Stuart Mill. Mill's utilitarian framework, which calls for actions that maximize overall happiness, resonates with Anaxagorean thought in its pursuit of collective well-being. Here, the connection becomes evident. Both philosophers endorse a vision that compels individuals to consider their actions within the expansive arena of societal impact, albeit through divergent pathways. Turning to more contemporary figures, we can see just how Anaxagoras's interconnected view resonates with environmental philosophy. Thinkers such as Vandana Shiva intertwine these themes, advocating for an ethical approach that respects the planet's ecosystems as essential within the framework of moral consideration. The echoes of Anaxagoras's assertion that everything is related still fortify modern ethical discourses, which examine our responsibilities not just to each other, but to future generations and the natural environment as well. In addition, Anaxagoras's principles find a vibrant correlation with the ethical discussions surrounding artificial intelligence and technology. As we face increasingly complicated dynamics in AI development, issues of bias, accountability, and the potential for ethical misuse, the question emerges: how can we remain rooted in Anaxagorean thought? The guiding principle of Nous can serve as a beacon, advocating for the incorporation of ethical reasoning alongside innovative advancements. rallying our rational faculties to scrutinize how these technologies impact our interconnected existence becomes paramount. For instance, consider the ethical ramifications of deploying facial recognition technology in policing. If we approach this matter through an Anaxagorean lens, we may emphasize a shared responsibility among developers, law enforcement, and society to uphold justice and equity. The potential for bias underscores the need for a collaborative effort to ensure that our technological advancements respect privacy, dignity, and the very essence of interconnectedness that Anaxagoras champions. As we analyze these core tenets of Anaxagoras's philosophy, it becomes increasingly clear that the pursuit of ethical clarity continually demands our attention and reflection. Anaxagoras encourages us to engage deeply with questions central to our existence and moral responsibilities. Are we exercising our nous in our day-to-day lives? Are we recognizing the web of interconnectedness that binds us, and how do our actions ripple through the lives of others? The legacy of Anaxagoras offers fertile ground for moral contemplation. It compels us to consider our position not just as individuals, but as part of a larger whole, intertwining our actions with the fabric of existence. As you think about these intriguing notions, take a moment to evaluate how Anaxagorean principles can enhance your engagement with the ethical challenges we face today. Ultimately, the philosophy of Anaxagoras advocates for reasoned inquiry and ethical awareness, challenging us to embrace our shared humanity and responsibilities. Regardless of the complexities of contemporary life, the call to connect, reason, and act responsibly remains a fundamental aspect of how we approach ethical dilemmas in our world. In recognizing that our moral choices resonate throughout the interconnected web of existence, perhaps we can move toward a future that is not only rooted in rational thought, but is infused with compassion, respect, and a recognition of the profound unity binding us all. To further explore the implications of Anaxagoras's philosophy and how it reflects in contemporary issues of moral significance, we must delve deeper into the nuances of his views on nous and the overarching idea of interconnectedness. Anaxagoras proposes that nous is not just a passive observer of the cosmos, but the very agent through which order is realized in the universe. Therefore, this notion shapes our ethical frameworks and informs our responsibilities toward one another and the world at large. The implications of these ideas permeate various realms, especially when considering the ethical dilemmas posed by modern societal challenges. For instance, as we examine the dynamics of power and authority within political systems today, Anaxagoras's perspective can serve as a lens through which we understand the importance of rational governance and integrity in leadership roles. In a world where political discourse often seems more about rhetoric and personality than substantive policy discussions, invoking Anaxagorean thought encourages the cultivation of political ethics grounded in reason rather than populism or demagoguery. Consider a leader faced with a decision about budget allocation for social programs versus military expenditure. Anaxagoras's framework encourages us to analyze not just what might result in immediate political gain, but to reflect on the broader implications for society. How do the decisions made echo out, influencing the webs of interconnectedness that tie communities together? Understood through this lens, a true leader may be pushed to consider the welfare of the collective over personal ambitions, prioritizing investments in education, healthcare, and community programs that acknowledge and nurture the interconnected fabric of society. When purchasing products, we often confront dilemmas about sustainability, labor practices, and the environmental impact of our decisions. Through Anaxagorean principles, we are reminded of the importance of considering how our choices affect not just ourselves, but also countless others throughout the production and supply chain. The interconnectedness that Anaxagoras espouses underlines a moral obligation to think critically about the consequences of our consumption, encouraging us to support ethical brands and practices that respect both humanity and the environment. In personal interactions, the reflections of Anaxagoras can lead to a reconsideration of interpersonal ethics, urging us to cultivate deeper empathy and understanding in relationships. For instance, offering moral obligations, expectations, and defending our freedom from freedom expression. When conflict arises, be it at work or within family dynamics, Anaxagorean thought can guide us to look beyond just the surface of disagreements. Instead of focusing solely on personal grievances, how might we understand the shared humanity present in each party? Anaxagoras's emphasis on interconnectedness suggests that recognizing our mutual ties can foster a dialogue that seeks resolution rather than deepening division. This reflective ethic encourages us to elevate our conversations and interactions, focusing on constructive engagement, which is critical in a polarized world. However, this journey into applying Anaxagorean ethics also uncovers unresolved challenges and critiques that beg exploration. Significant challenges posed against Anaxagoras is the vagueness surrounding the concept of nous itself. While it offers insight into the nature of order and intelligence, some have questioned whether it provides adequate guidance for addressing concrete moral situations. The abstractness of nous, they argue, may leave individuals without a clear framework on how to navigate moral dilemmas when emotional and situational complexities emerge. This critique is particularly essential when we confront scenarios wherein reason alone might falter. The philosophical musings of Hume, as mentioned earlier, illuminate a critical counterpoint in the discourse around Anaxagoras's rationalism. Hume's assertion that moral decisions are often driven by sentiments and passions provokes a reflection on how complex human experiences often cannot be distilled into reasoned frameworks alone. If personal bonds and emotional connections shape our ethical practices, then employing a singularly rational approach, as might be suggested by the overly abstract interpretations of nous, could neglect the richness of human experience necessary for ethical decision-making. Furthermore, critiques also arise concerning the practical implementation of Anaxagorean philosophical principles on a societal scale. Would a political apparatus steeped in Anaxagorean thought necessarily lead to better governance, or might it be dismissed as an intellectual exercise lacking traction in the tumultuous realities of political life? These concerns invite a broader examination of how philosophy interacts with lived experiences, emphasizing the gap that sometimes exists between theoretical frameworks and practical applications. Criticism of Anaxagoras's moral philosophy doesn't end there. As philosophical inquiries evolved over centuries, later thinkers such as Kant and Friedrich Nietzsche engaged critically with Anaxagorean ideas. For instance, while Kant emphasized the duty-bound nature of moral actions, producing a framework that challenges Anaxagoras's more fluid interconnectedness, Nietzsche scoffed at any morality grounded solely in rationality. Nietzsche promoted the idea of individual moral authority through self-creation, contrasting sharply with Anaxagoras's vision of universal principles governed by nous. However, despite these critiques, the resonance of Anaxagorean philosophy continues to echo through the ages, inviting fresh engagement with its moral implications. Recognizing the limitations of strict rationalism, modern philosophers have begun to synthesize insights from both emotional and rational perspectives, revealing the rich tapestry of human moral reasoning. The discourse surrounding ethics has notably drawn from Anaxagoras's ideas, shaping contemporary understandings of justice, human rights, and our obligations toward one another. For example, The contemporary movement toward restorative justice in criminal systems embodies a recalibrated ethical approach that echoes Anaxagorean values. Rather than focusing solely on punishment, restorative justice emphasizes healing relationships and acknowledging the harm caused to all individuals involved, the offenders, victims, and the broader community. This model reflects Anaxagoras' view of interconnectedness, recognizing that moral responsibility extends beyond the act itself and must reckon with the rippling effects of one's choices throughout communal ties. Such a robust understanding of justice promotes healing, dialogue, and reconciliation, not unlike the principles Anaxagoras ascribed to all entities in existence. Emphasizing the significance of the collective also plays into ethical considerations surrounding environmental policy and action. When we apply Anaxagorean thought to pressing climate crises, it becomes clear that a holistic approach is necessary, one that acknowledges shared responsibilities to preserve ecosystems for current and future generations. The unique ethical stance of interconnectivity evokes solidarity, urging individuals, corporations, and governments to enact policies that reflect a commitment to stewarding the planet. This approach has materialized through sustainable policies and climate agreements, emphasizing the need for collaborative solutions rather than isolated actions. In examining the ethical landscape of technological advancements today, particularly around artificial intelligence and digital ethics, Anaxagoras' emphasis on more profound inquiry speaks volumes about our responsibility as creators and consumers of technology. The rapid pace of innovation demands that we pause to consider the ethical implications of tools and systems we build. Anaxagoras' exhortation to harness nous in decision-making offers a moral standard for assessing not only the outcomes, but the intent behind technological development. Are we crafting intelligent systems that consider the well-being of humanity and the planet? Or are we moving too quickly, leading to consequences that could further entrench inequities? As we engage with the question of personal data usage and privacy, Anaxagorean principles can clarify our responsibilities. Should we permit the commodification of personal information for profit, thus potentially threatening privacy and, by extension, human dignity? An engagement with interconnectedness reminds us that the digital landscape is not just a technological space, but a living community of individuals, each action reverberating through relationships. Such contemplation challenges developers and policymakers to navigate ethical dimensions meticulously and with foresight, uniting reason and empathy in discussions to craft advanced tools and systems. Incorporating Anaxagoras' thoughts into ethical discourses allows us to explore the broader question: what constitutes a fulfilled life in the context of our interconnectedness? This may evoke introspection around our place in the cosmos, compelling us to think beyond individual achievements and reflect on how our lives impact others. The journey of recognizing our part in a collective existence may lead us to a renewed appreciation for shared responsibility around climate, relationships, governance, and technology. As we ponder Anaxagoras' teachings and their legacy in moral philosophy, we can draw inspiration from his insights to illuminate our ethical journey. While there may be limitations and critiques of his framework, the essence of his philosophy fills a critical role in challenging assumptions about our role in the universe. The reminder that nous allows us to engage reasoning in our decision-making beckons in a world yearning for moral clarity amid complexity and uncertainty. In conclusion, as we navigate modern life, the thought of Anaxagoras invites us to remain vigilant in our ethical engagements. His legacy calls us to embrace reason as a guiding force while simultaneously interweaving emotional intelligence and relational understanding. In an age defined by rapid change and interconnected crises, the cultivation of a moral compass grounded in Anaxagorean thought might be precisely what is needed to foster both individual growth and communal well-being. As we embrace this philosophy, may we all seek to embody the spirit of interconnectedness in our actions, forging paths toward a more compassionate and unified future.
Midnight rails under silver moon, dusty boots on a winding road. A shadow's the only friend I've known since she packed up and let me go. Empty whiskey bottle on the seat, her laugh still echoes in my bones. Saddle's heavy with memories. I ride alone where the wind still blows. Nowhere else to be, nowhere else to be, nowhere else to be. Nowhere else to be, nowhere else to be, nowhere else to be. Sunrise paints the horizon gold, but it don't warm a lonesome soul. Every town I pass feels half her size. Every trail's haunted by goodbye. I whisper prayers to open skies, hoping someday my heart'll find a brand new path beyond the pain, where broken hearts can heal in time. Nowhere else to be, nowhere else to be, nowhere else to be. Nowhere else to be, nowhere else to be. Nowhere else to be. No